Boom, we are live for another week of Alfacast. Today's going to be a great show as we dive into crypto and decentralizing the internet with our special guest, Crowe from the QORT project. Crowe and I go back a bit. We worked on a offshoot project called Karma Ship that was based off the technology from Cora, which we can get into, which was the original blockchain that he's building off of and developing this new technology.
We
So
rewrote it all now, so it's the same. Yeah.
nice. And uh, today we're going to talk about the new project Court and their very audacious big vision for decentralizing the internet and cryptocurrency, unlike really we've seen before in the ecosystem. This is three or more years in the making, and I'll let Crowe kind of give more background into that. But yeah, the main focus today is we're going to dive into crypto and the need for decentralization and technologies like the internet, web hosting, application hosting, of course. And the other big focus here is in trading, the ability to go back to the original intent of Bitcoin, which is P2P, a P2P digital currency that doesn't have any middleman. And
Yep.
unfortunately, nowadays, with the rise of the centralized exchanges and other large corporations coming into the fray in the last 4 or 5 years, um, many ways we say Bitcoin's become more of a derivative than an actual P2P cryptocurrency. So our intention, and I say our because full disclosure, on my free time, I've jumped into this project. This is a fully open source project. It's all volunteer based. There's no company or corporation behind it, as any true open source project should be. So I've dabbled in this, and I'm actually working on another project that will be using their core blockchain infrastructure. So I do have some background in this project as well, and just really excited about it because it's not your
Me too.
typical ICO big money grab type of corporate project that we're now seeing
The
in the
exact opposite.
ecosystem. It's the exact opposite. So here to welcome Crowe to the show. How you doing today, Crowe?
Oh man, I'm usually pretty good. Today's typical day so far. I've been not getting that much sleep because I've been focusing on getting all of this finally put together because it's been about 5 years now that in ideation and planning and then thinking about what the development could be and then finding the people to get it all put together. And now, okay, so a little bit of background on me. I got into the crypto space in 2013 when somebody mentioned Bitcoin to me, and I immediately became fascinated with mining. Got into that and got into a coin called Burst that I originally was a huge part of. I started the first team for that project, like a loosely founded team, and we just hit the ground running. So in 2016, a project called Quora, which is what QORT is founded, Quartal is founded from. The logo you can see, QORA, is kind of undertone, so you can still see Quora in it. We took over the project Quora, and we have since completely gutted it. Took all the best parts and kept them, made them better, and have built something that I've been coming up with ideas for a long time, and is now finally within a month of when we're going to launch the base network. So this
Wow.
is like a huge thing for me. This is years and years coming together finally, and so it's been crazy. It's been crazy. It's been awesome. So
Give us a little background into Cora and what made Cora so innovative when it was first announced and
yeah,
launched.
so what I really liked about Quora when I first saw it is the fact that it could host websites. I was like, wow, like when I looked into it, I was like, wow, that you can actually host websites on the blockchain, literally. You upload the data in a transaction and you can access it totally decentralized via the network of nodes. Knowing that alone, I was hooked on Quora. And getting deeper into it, I realized that holy crap, this can do a lot more. And so I have had a bunch of people who are really intelligent that are constantly bouncing ideas off of me, and we started putting together a plan for what this thing could actually do. And now we've basically come to the conclusion that it's going to do everything. So we can't really say that and just let it be. So we're going to start with, it's going to be the infrastructure for the internet of the future. We'll start there.
So one thing in regards to that, because I know there's some other projects out there that that are attempting this, and I guess some of the naysayers say that blockchain can be too slow for hosting data like that. How is Quora and Quartal different?
Well, as far as the hosting aspect, we haven't finalized every aspect of how that's all going to function yet. The first layer that we're launching, getting everything going, is the network layer to get everybody getting nodes, get everybody founding the actual network itself. The way that it will function is, instead of having the data actually on the blockchain for the hosting, the nodes will run alongside the blockchain, and so that the accessing of the data is part of the chain, but at the same time it isn't. So it's still like accessing it over any sort of server infrastructure like you're normally used to. So it should be basically no different.
So it similar to like a DFS or a distributed
Right. Like
framework.
torrents, anything else that's ever been P2P, right? It's similar to that. So you basically a network of nodes, but this time the data is hashed, and the hashes are stored on the blockchain so that you can verify the data's hashes, but you don't have to actually have all of the data itself on the chain, if you can understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Basically taking encoding of the data and keeping just the data of it on the chain. So it's not keeping all of it on the chain, right? Because then it doesn't keep everything having to be tied to the chain directly.
Yes, yes, that makes a lot of sense. So let's back up a second here and talk about uh, kind of the state of crypto right now and the need, why we would need a project like this,
Definitely.
and kind of what was your guys' motivation to be doing this with the way the ecosystem is right now. I know, me speaking personally, I've always been a fan of Bitcoin because Bitcoin is a true, in my sense, how cryptocurrencies, the ideology of a cryptocurrency, or
Well, it was the first, right? Like it was the one that laid the initial concepts of this is a possibility, right? And so, yeah, it's great. But in my opinion, things have kind of gotten bastardized. It was supposed to be initially that everybody were to run any normal computer at your house, and you could be a miner on the network. Of course, that got centralized now into the hands of, well, I'm one of them, but somebody who owns a bunch of mining equipment. And then it got centralized into the hands of about 3 or 4 big companies that could theoretically control the chain if they really wanted to. And that kind of defeats the whole purpose, right? So that's one of the main concepts that the initial network layer of QORT will change.
so what you're talking about is like a 50% attack with the hash
Yes.
power with these
The whole
mining
hash power
clusters.
thing is not really something that's necessary. They've been coming up with other ways to get around the whole hash power thing, right? With the proof of work, because everybody's like, oh, it takes a lot of electricity. Yes, you're right, but they couldn't come up with another way that could verify the data and could secure the chain in such a way as POW does, right? And that's what I believe our platform will do, and do better than something like proof of stake.
Yeah, so historically we had proof of work, which Bitcoin Satoshi Nakamoto invented with the white paper, which was a brilliant innovation because it stopped the double spend problem we had with digital currencies. through validation through mining via proof of work where computers were competing using energy computing power to solve hashes. And
Cryptographic.
it's a brilliant innovation because it not only does it create a natural market force where it literally mimics like mining gold, but it
Mm-hmm.
also allowed for distributed ledger to actually function properly.
Correct.
But then we started to see that we had issues with the power
Power consumption.
issues, and as the race for computing power with these ASIC miners as they were developed, you had people that started creating large mining operations and trying to dominate.
And it's centralized. It's going to turn the system back into what we were trying to get rid of in the first place, right? Everybody,
Consortiums.
it's going to, right now it's just going to be consortiums of blockchains that are going to be like Blockchain Incorporated over here is going to run all of, like, it's like, really, this is
new
the anti,
Rockefellers.
yeah, this is the anti of what we were trying to found, and then it just right back into it again, and that's what we kind of want to avoid.
So just going through a quick history for some of our listeners here and viewers, because a lot of them maybe don't have this total background. So once we had that very apparent, and there's a lot of, because it's an open source project, we had a ton of copycats in the early days that were forking, what we call forking, where they take the code and create new projects. So there's all these Bitcoin copycats and proof of work. And then we had a brilliant innovation. Well, some would say someone called proof of stake, which originally, I'm trying to remember, was it Purecoin? Might have been the first one.
I forget. But Quora had its own unique proof of stake algorithm too, and that was one of the things when it launched. It had its own, and that was one of the unique factors about it. Other than the fact it was one of the only custom from the ground up blockchain platforms. So it's written completely from scratch, not a clone, right?
Yeah. No, that was kind of the segue I wanted to get into, was that with Quora. So what's interesting to me about Quora, as I dove into it, a couple of years ago, as I first discovered it, because I'd never even heard of it. And back to the proof of stake thing, of course, the big, we had some big projects come about that really are pushing proof of stake. And the idea of proof of stake is that the consensus, which is what controls the overall blockchain validity, if you will, of understanding that all the data is correct. That's what originally proof of work was doing. Proof of stake, all that does is say that if you have, it's based upon how much coin that you're actually staking or holding.
Which I never liked that idea to begin with, because it's basically the rich get richer, right, by default.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
I was like, okay, well, that's cool that you're solving the problem of the hash power, but at the same time, it's the same idea. The people with more money are still going to run the system, right?
Yeah, the intention was somewhat admirable, because they were trying to stop the energy issue and make it a much more efficient means of consensus. But you have to also wonder, like, especially because the ICO boom kind of hit right around that time with a lot of these projects, it seemed like a self-feeding mechanism where
first
those
we'll do an airdrop first, and then we'll make it a proof of stake coin, so we can airdrop coins that we already had, and we can double those, and then we can take those and make them magically make more, right?
Exactly.
Perfect.
Yep. It's the ultimate dream of having the money tree.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all fine and well and good and all until you come up with somebody and goes, wait, what? And that was me. So I was like, this all doesn't making all that much sense to me. So, this model that I've constructed with the help of the Siam developers and multiple other contributors that have put in countless hours and stress and time into helping me figure this all out. And we have come up with what I believe to be a superior model.
Yeah, so let's get into that a little bit. Now, with the original, so this model that you're calling is you're calling the mechanism minting, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And did Quora originally have the minting concept, or was Quora more proof of stake?
Quora was it was totally proof of stake, which I saw as a flaw, right? That was one of the things. Okay, I like Quora. I like all the stuff that it does, but negative was it was proof of stake. And that means that initially all the coin basically had to be already pre-created and set aside and then divvied out to people. And I don't really like that idea. So there were some things about Core that I didn't like too, right? But yeah, it was originally all proof of stake. Yeah.
Got it. And so now you've come up with this concept called minting. Want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, okay. So instead of the rich get richer with the proof of stake, where you have to have coin in order to forge blocks, this is going to be taking that concept instead and saying, who are you on the network? You are somebody who's going to be helping the network, right? You can prove yourself helping the network by saying, hi, I'm here. I have a copy of the blockchain, and I can prove that. So over time, as you can continue to prove yourself like that, then you can basically earn the right to obtain a part of the block reward. So you have to first say, I'm a full node, I'm minting, I want minting enabled, and then you can, sorry, I lost track for a second. First, in order to become a minter, you have to prove yourself to a delegate. So it's all based on time, right? Time has to go by for you to be proving to this delegate saying, I want to become a minter. And you have to continue to prove that you're there, you're supporting the network, you're syncing the chain. And once you're enabled to mint as a level 1 minter, that's another thing that's different, is we have a level system. So when you become a minter, you start at level 1. And as time goes by and you continue to mint, you level up, just like a video game, right? And as you level up, you get into a different bracket of rewards that you receive from the overall block distribution every cycle. Just like Bitcoin right now is what, 12 and a half coins per block that are still being minted because they're brand new. It's the same idea.
So this is really interesting. So you're kind of bringing in, it's almost like proof of intention that you intend to support the network, that you're
Right.
not a bad actor.
Right.
And in doing that, you kind of have to sacrifice some time. As they say, time is money. And
you have to prove that you can provide those resources too. So you have to back up your word.
this is cool. So do you know, this seems like a pretty innovative project in regards to this new, I guess you'd call this a new consensus mechanism.
Completely. Everything about this project is basically all from scratch. So, and not only just the coding, all of the concepts and everything we've put it all together. So.
Yeah, so explain that real quick too, because when you say all from scratch, this is
Yeah.
I think this is a misnomer. A lot of people don't understand when you have these fancy new projects coming out.
Right. They all say that, right?
Yeah, so give a little insight into that.
Okay, so when most projects say, oh, we built this, what they really mean is we found somebody else who built this, copied it, pasted it, changed some names and a few other things, and said we built it. No. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is my development team opened Notepad and wrote code, and all of that from scratch for everything. And that's why my developers love me so much. Because I'm like, can you do this? They're like, of course I can, but that means not having used any of these libraries that are existing now, writing my own libraries so that I can then write the things that you want me to make. Like, so you can do it then, yes, but it's going to take some time. And
Yeah.
that's why it's, 5 years now that we've been doing this. So, yeah.
And I mean, the power of open source obviously is that you have the ability to fork other code bases, but in doing that, you can be kind of setting yourself up for failure because you're trusting in other developers, and also who knows about back-end hacks and
And
all
we already
sorts of
know
other.
how all these projects have worked out, right? Like, or we can see years of development in each new project and their ideas, and some of them have worked out okay, and some of them, but still, we thought that there were fundamental things that needed to be changed. So in order
Yeah.
to change those fundamental things, the only thing we could do was fundamentally start everything again. And so that's what it took me years into Burst before I realized, okay, the Burst platform is not going to work. It was based off of another code base called Next, and
NXT.
the Java code for NXT. Any Java developer who's worked on NXT will tell you the same exact thing. It's a mess. It's functional, but it's hard to work on. And it would take a lot more effort for my team to start with that than it would be to start with something that like Quora that had a much better fundamentally laid out code base. There was a lot missing and a lot of stuff that we wanted to have changed. But of course, when we gutted it and recoded all the parts that were missing, that's what we're going to come out with and show you in a month. We can at least see the base network.
Wow. So what, it sounds like that this is, what I love about this project is that it really has the spirit of originally what Bitcoin was all about, in that you have kind of this renegade team of underground developers all over the world.
Nobody even knows who we are because we literally have not been saying a word. We have the following of the people that originally, when I said, I'm taking over this project, it's going to be years in development before it gets anywhere ready to launch. You people who are still listening to me, if you believe what I'm saying, those are the people that we have now following us, which is about a couple hundred people.
Yeah. Right now. And do you feel like we're still in a place in this, because with the rise of the corporatization of the blockchain industry and crypto, we've kind of gotten to a place where these people are pumping millions of dollars into marketing, millions of dollars. I mean, we saw what happened with EOS.
I've been doing a lot of thinking about that recently. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, but I've been doing a lot of thinking about that whole thing. I'm like, okay, so I get the idea of putting money into marketing. I get it, but I don't like marketing very much. I don't like they have angles, right? They're trying to get at people in certain ways. I don't like that. I don't agree with a lot of their practices, I guess you could say. So I think with a project that has true merit, all it's going to take is for me to put it out there and show the right people, and they'll just kind of show other people, and it'll, grow that way. And I'm a fan of that, as opposed to doing big,
the like network effect.
Going up and standing, I will do maybe a few chats with certain people on stages, but I'm not like trying to go out there wearing a suit and any of that. Like, I'm not gonna be oh, look at me, I'm Joey, it's my Ferrari, like, let's talk about QORT. No, like those guys on the YouTube videos just they start to get on my nerves, so I don't want to be that guy.
Well, yeah, and I could never see be that guy. But in a way, this could be an alternative form of marketing where it's like we're we are a legit project. We're not going to be, we are a true crypto project with underground developers, and kind of go the old school, way of word of mouth on the forums, getting the hardcore miners into it.
And by all means, if you have a coder that wants to vet any aspect of this, please do. If you find any bugs, let us know.
Exactly. Full transparency, right? Like, that's one thing that we've lost with, and I think it's left a bad taste in a lot of like the core original crypto heads, is that now with the whole corporatization of the industry, is that we've lost that transparency.
The veil.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of sheen and kind of gloss, but when you dig into the actual code, it's kind of like, whoa, not much here. Marketing kind of has taken over the actual substance.
And another thing too is they'll take the core that could be decentralized, and all the stuff that they're saying is true, but then they put it into a centralized server and make it a service that people have to access, and with logins and whatever. That takes away the decentralization.
Yeah, that's putting
it on a server again. That's owned by a company. That's anti what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you see on like most of these projects, is that they might have a core data layer and blockchain layer, that is working on a more traditional proof of work, proof of stake, and then you access it on Apple iStore or Apple App Store or on the
And you have
Google
to
Play.
access it via a thing
And
that gets to a server that they own.
yep.
It's like, okay, but I have to agree to some licensing agreement. Like, what is this? Is this fucking Microsoft? No. Like, we're gonna go like this and say, if you can't do everything yourself without needing anybody, as in there's no forgot your password, click here. No. If you forget your password, you're screwed. Because this is all in your own hands, right? Like, this is you. You have control of every aspect of it.
Yeah, and we talk about this a lot when regards to medical freedom, and this is something that people have been they've been raised in this nanny state where they will freak out if they can't do a password retrieval. So,
Right.
one thing that, and there's ways that you can create mechanisms to help people. So,
Right.
in
Of
other
course,
words,
there are multiple ways to back things up and like make it
correct.
easy to re-access data that you have had before, but it's not the same as a centralized entity controlling that information and giving it back to you.
Yeah, and the insipid thing right now in the industry is we know the technocrats, the big technological companies like the Facebooks, the Googles, where if you really dive into, you can see the connections to the CIA, to
I
the
mean, there's
deep
a lot of
state.
good stuff that they
Um,
do at the same time. Yeah, cool. But there's a lot of other stuff going on that it's like, really, guys? Like, come on.
Well, yeah, that's what my point was, is if you actually know the real history of a lot of these companies, that they have direct ties to dark projects, deep state, whatever you want to call it, and they are put in place because the controllers, the predator class, the stuff, the people we talk about a lot on the show, they understand that there's a control grid in place, that they are control freaks, and in order to control the lives of the plebeians, the
Plebs.
populace. This is what they envision. This is the future they envision, and the way to counter that is by bringing sovereignty back to individuals, so that individual human beings can be in control of their life. And there's no stopping the technological progress that we are facing in terms of our society, unless we have some huge natural disaster or something. Um, you
Unless
know,
all of the power and ways of communicating are all cut off at once, I think we're good.
exactly. So we kind of are at a cross. We're kind of at a point in our society where it's like, are we going to go down towards 1984 Blade Runner world run by mass corporations that have centralized everything, or are we going to head more towards what I call kind of like Star Trek world, or something
Yeah.
where it's a more benevolent society where everybody's free? We do have things like AI and stuff, but it's all
There's a governance.
distributed. Of course, there's governance, but that's governance by the people for the people, right?
Exactly. Yes. And that's another thing that's in Quartal by default is the voting system, which initially will be based on the levels of the minters. So the people who level up and prove themselves and continue to prove themselves to the network will have more influence as far as voting goes. So it doesn't have anything to do with, hi, I have this many coins over here and my vote counts more because I have more coins, which goes back to the whole thing. The rich get richer. The rich are the ones who can make all decisions. No, that's not how it works. You continue to prove yourself as a contributing member of the society, and your vote continues to count more and more. And
So
that
you've
voting
kind of
system controls
integrated
everything.
a DAO, or a decentralized autonomous organization concept
Yes.
right into the chain as well.
Yes, like there's so many aspects of this that I can't get into every detail of everything right now. Obviously, we've been doing this for 5 years, and we like if you think I talk fast about tech stuff, like there's some guys over here that make me sound stupid. So, um, yeah, there's just a lot to this, right? Like obviously, this is like what I can think of it as basically the infrastructure for not just the internet, but it's like it's going to be what runs the base level of networking between all different aspects of your life, digital life.
Wow, that's a pretty lofty goal.
I know, right?
um,
No, and we're shooting low.
I mean, well, think about with Bitcoin. I mean, it was an open source code put out there by this mysterious figure. There was no corporation behind it. This is what I was originally saying. Why Bitcoin has so much value is because it was not created. There's no CEO. I mean, you have people claiming to be,
Right. No, I'm
you know,
Satoshi, man. That's what I come on the
Satoshi.
show to really tell you.
Yeah, and they have the Bitcoin, .org or .com and there's supposedly like the core Bitcoin developers, but in the end, it's just all about consensus and all about who decides what Bitcoin is, and that to me is what the future is. The future is not the future is an open source future. It's not about for me. I'm very much opposed to patents and
Me
the
too.
idea of patents. Yeah,
Copyrights, patents, they're
copyrights,
all
patents.
ideas of the past.
Yes. So I think we both see the future being a place where we have autonomous control of our lives via these decentralized mechanisms that are using distributed networks, that are using these decentralized autonomous organizations. So there is voting, there's democracy, but
Yes.
it's not right now. We don't have democracy in the world. We have plutocracy, we have
Right.
oligarchy, we have technocracy, and
And the only way I could think of to do this like totally fairly was to do it based on contribution, right? You wanna prove yourself, do it. Okay? You've proved yourself a little bit, okay, your vote counts a little bit. Keep proving yourself, your vote's going to count more. And how could we build that into a digital thing that actually works? And that's what we've come up with.
so explain the proving yourself. It sounds like it's like you putting the time in.
So initially, it'll be okay. So there's multiple account types too, right? Minters are what I'm focusing on first because the minters are what's going to form the foundation layer of all of this, right? Because the minters are what process the chain and keep everything moving. So the minters are all full nodes. If you're familiar with the concept of full node, most of those don't exist in Bitcoin anymore. So that's another thing where, okay, Bitcoin could be decentralized, but how many people actually run a full node? Do you know
Yeah,
anyone who
well,
actually has a full node?
I
Like a
mean,
fully synced copy of the Bitcoin blockchain?
miners. I mean,
No, I'm a huge miner. I have no copy of the Bitcoin blockchain.
oh, really?
Yeah, I'm a huge miner. I have uh, what close to $500,000 in mining hardware, and I do not have a synced copy of the blockchain
How is that?
because you don't need one anymore because all these centralized services and shit, they manage it for you, right? So how many full nodes are actually running Bitcoin, and who runs those full nodes is another question. And that's another thing where this system should keep everyone being a full node, as many people as possible anyway.
So I know one of the issues with the full node concept and with blockchain in general, and I know that's why a lot of these companies are coming up with different types of scalable solutions, is that the blockchain, obviously, as you stack blocks, gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So running a
Yeah,
full node on a 10-year long legacy system like Bitcoin, they say, it's like gigabytes. So I don't know how big the chain is now. Um,
it's about 80, I think 89. I can't remember. Last time I synced it, actually, it was like 125 gigabytes. I think it grows daily, obviously. So
yeah.
it's yeah, but that's the thing too is that you can trim the chain so that a full node in the terms of what we are considering a full node in this aspect of QORT is it doesn't have to have that much data really because even the data that's going to be stored on the chain is going to be hashed to store on the blockchain. So the actual data will be on data nodes that are separate things, and that's another account type. So that's another way you can prove yourself to the network eventually. So yeah,
Interesting. So, but going back to my question, just on the transaction level, on a transaction blockchain over, let's say, Quartle's 10 years in, it, I mean, I guess that is kind of an issue. Of course,
it
they
isn't
say,
it isn't anymore. I mean, for us now, blockchain trimming basically is all you need to
okay,
do. You don't have to store the whole chain from the very beginning, right? Who needs to go back that far? If you need to go back that far, there's backups of that you can access that are also decentralized and stored on the network, right?
got it.
See what I
Okay.
mean? Like, if this is making any sense to anybody. Yeah, I can get into all the tech details if you'd actually like, but not right now.
Interesting. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Why go back to 2011 Bitcoin for? I mean, I guess if you had a transaction back
Right.
then, and
If you had a transaction that you lost or something, but that's gonna be like a very rare circumstance where you need to go back further than a couple months at max, right? Like, who needs to go like, oh, 6 years ago I need to check a transaction? Like, why do you need to have all that information on hand right now? You don't necessarily need it. In our system, data supernodes will come into play a little bit later on once we get into the more hosting aspect of it. Once we get the network going, then we'll focus on the hosting, and that's where the data supernodes will then keep a full copy of the blockchain, and they'll get paid extra for doing that, right?
got
So
it.
the full nodes, the normal full nodes of people, everybody, they can keep just this new portion of the chain and still be a full node. While the data for the actual, if you want to go all the way back to whoever, that's stored on a data supernode that gets paid extra for being that data supernode and being like the archive guy, right?
Interesting. And so that's still distributed, still decentralized.
Yes.
It's not like it's a company
Right.
holding those nodes.
No.
It's anybody
I
can
mean, it could
anybody
be.
can do that.
Yeah,
Sure, it could be, but the idea is that it could be anybody. It can
absolutely.
opt in to do
And it
that.
should be. Yes. And if you do that and you say, hey, I would like to be a data supernode, I've got, like, for me, for instance, like, if you can see just a stack of hard drives sitting on top of this computer that I have right here could store a blockchain for 100 years, probably longer, right? So I'll be like, sure, I'll be a data supernode. I got 500 terabytes sitting in the garage, right? So, those types of people could totally be data supernodes in the network. And they could be another way to contribute to get a level in the system and get a vote that counts more and so forth. So it's all going to come into play, right? I think so.
Yeah, very cool, man. That explains a lot, and I didn't know about the Bitcoin full node thing.
Right.
So that's
Nobody
really
really thinks that
interesting.
far into it unless you're a developer and you're like, have to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the concerning thing for me right now in the ecosystem are the centralized exchanges.
Oh
So in
God.
order to really access Bitcoin these days, you got to go to like Coinbase
Which is a
or
centralized entity.
which is a centralized entity, which has direct connections to the Fed and to SEC. I mean, they literally have board members
And in
on
many
there.
ways, it's good, sure, because like for me, running a company that deals a lot with Bitcoin, sure, it makes it my life a lot easier because I can just hand those books over to my book guy and say, okay, here you go, do my taxes, right? That's cool and all, but you should be able to opt in if you want that. It should be like an added service for those people to get that information and handle that for you if that's what you want. But that's not what they're doing. You have to sign up. You have to agree to all their things. It's a centralized thing again. So that's where
Sure.
it goes back into being bastardized again from what it was supposed to be.
Yeah. So the issue with me too with the centralized exchanges is that a lot of times the way the liquidity works and the way that the actual trading works is that you're going through their kind of the fiduciary
They're
hold
everything.
they're everything. So
Yeah.
the scary thing there,
I've
because
lost what 12 Bitcoin, I think, in various centralized exchanges going under. Most recently, Cryptopia, which I don't know if they've come back or not, but half a Bitcoin there still of mine.
wow,
Yeah.
well, I definitely have made some faux pas with the Bitcoin. I won't even get into bit petite, but there's some big scams out there back in the day
Yeah,
that
man.
I've
And
lost a
so
ton of
it just goes
Bitcoin.
back to the whole thing. If Bitcoin were the way it was supposed to be, we wouldn't have these centralized things to where this exchange goes under and people lose millions of dollars. That should not be able to happen in a decentralized system at all.
Yeah,
And that's where they've lost the decentralized nature of Bitcoin. Like, sure, if you and I have a full node and we want to send something to each other, cool. But we don't, and we never send Bitcoin that way. So
yep.
we're not, even me personally, I don't use Bitcoin decentralized. Nobody really does. That's the problem.
And now they're coming out with Lightning Network, which is the big supposed
And that's
innovation.
fine, and that's great. We're using that tech. We're going to be using that tech. Totally. But that's just a fundamental layer of something that's already got problems because you've got centralization involved already.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I was trying to get at too with the exchanges is that because they are the middlemen, can also, we are trusting, and this is the whole issue. I mean, originally Bitcoin was, the idea was it was a trustless system, right?
Yeah.
Now we have trust involved, and we're trusting that they are acting appropriately, so that they're not
For
manipulating
instance,
the market.
Everybody's heard of Tether, right?
Of course.
USDT. Magically print more of them, just like the Fed, right? And artificially inflate the price of Bitcoin. And what we see at the end of 2018 is what a lot of people believe. It came a lot from the Tether,
which was created by Bitfinex, which is one of the largest
right?
centralized exchanges in the world. And the
There's
Tether
massive
idea,
manipulation.
just so for those that don't know, real quick, the Tether idea was to create what they call a stable coin, where they tether the value, excuse me, of Bitcoin to the U.S. dollar, right?
Yep.
So that when the market is dumping, when Bitcoin is dumping to the dollar, you can jump into Tether, so that you're staying with the U.S. dollar. The problem with Tether, though, is that the actual token or coin
supposed to be back to 1-to-1.
It's supposed to be back to 1-to-1, but we have
no
we have a number of problems with that. One, the dollar is the most manipulated currency in the world. They just print at will. We're looking
gonna print it at will too. Then back 1-to-1. Yeah. Win. Like, no.
Exactly. So it's a totally antithesis of what Satoshi Nakamoto envisioned.
Exactly.
And so this is actually a good segue in a couple things here for QORT. One, with QORT, one of the big builds into it, which is super important for sovereignty, is the decentralized exchange that is going to be functioning on it.
This was the main focus initially. Like, this is why it's called QORTL, because it was built around the idea of being a trade portal. But obviously, it became a lot more than that. But that was the original concept, and that's why it's called QORTL, because I decided I wanted to focus it only on being the trade portal. Then I wanted to make a clone of it that did the rest of the stuff. But then the developer's like, listen, man, how about we just make it all get done in QORTL? I'm like, okay, that could work. Like, it hadn't really occurred to me because there's so much extra that thought and stuff that was involved in adding all these other aspects to it. I was like, oh man. So the trade portal was supposed to be its only focus, and now it is not anymore, but it's still obviously a huge part, and it could be like a massive thing for these other guys doing these hypey type launches, right? Because you have the ability to trade like you were on a centralized exchange, but without any centralization. So instead of having them control the ledger and the whole database behind the whole thing, there's none of that. If I want to put an order on a book, the books are decentralized. I say, I'm here, I want to buy this, or I want to sell this. You say, oh, I like that idea. I'll sell this or buy this from you. And then the trade happens directly between us. No central control between it at all.
And the idea too is that you'll have other assets on there that you can trade in between, just like you can on these centralized exchanges. So if you wanted to trade like ETH or something else, right? Or
eventually, Ethereum is going to be a little bit more work because, okay, so the concept of this, right, is that in order to do this, we have to natively support Bitcoin. So we had to write the functionality to support Bitcoin in QORTL. So literally, if you store Bitcoin in QORTL, it's the same thing as if you had a Bitcoin Core wallet and stored it in that.
And without getting too technical, that means that you had to get pretty nifty with the coding, because the code base on Bitcoin with C++ or whatever is different.
So we had to write a Java version. Yeah, we had to write a Java version of the Bitcoin Core and make that work inside of the system so that it natively supports Bitcoin first. Then, thanks to the SIAM developers, which I can post links for all this stuff later when we go over this, I'm sure, they developed what's called atomic cross-chain transfers, which people now call atomic swaps, and it's been bastardized a little bit, but these guys were the first ones to ever come up with it, and I can have proof of all of that too. And we use their tech to actually build this to make it happen.
So let's get into the atomic cross-chain transfer, or as you said, the atomic swap, because we had projects coming out, God, a couple years ago saying they were doing this already. I think like Komodo might have been one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah,
so
that's funny that you mentioned that, but yeah.
I wanted to give a little bit of background in this because I think there's a lot of confusion because there's supposedly a lot of decentralized, they call DEXs, right?
Right.
Decentralized exchanges out there. But we're finding that many of those aren't truly decentralized.
For instance, CryptoBridge, right? They're like the main decentralized exchange. On the surface, sure, looks like it could be a decentralized exchange. When you connect to their UI, it says syncing nodes, so it looks like I'm connecting to a network of nodes. Cool, right on. But they don't natively support the coins that they hold. So in order to get into their system, you have to deposit. And when you deposit, you're losing control of those coins. So you don't want to have to do that at all in a decentralized system. You never want to relinquish control of your private keys, of your control of your coins, right?
Yeah. So in the way that the atomic cross-chain transfer works is that literally you're transferring across the blockchains.
Yes,
all right?
Literally, directly from one chain to another. The technology behind it is insane, and I can barely wrap my head around it myself, so I'm not even going to try to get into it. But it used to take multiple stages just to execute that transaction. That's another thing we did in QORT is we automated that process. So it used to be like, initiate the transfer, accept, okay, accept again, okay, transfer, okay, it's transferred now. But you can't do that if you want people to trade like they would in a centralized exchange. You want to be able to go place order, execute, and it just happens, right? We don't want to have to go place order. Okay, person accepts. Would you like to accept their acceptance? Yes. Okay. It's too much work, right? So there's a lot of stages that are involved and people don't even realize in a truly cross-chain transfer that takes place that makes these so-called decentralized exchanges obvious that they're not decentralized exchanges because for one, you're depositing coins. For two, they're not explaining how any of this is actually taking place. And yeah, so yeah, most of these decentralized exchanges are not decentralized. There are a few that are, and those are the ones that actually require you to fork something on a GitHub repo somewhere and add that into the base functionality of the coin before it can actually be supported in the exchange. So yeah.
So the idea with QORT is that you guys are doing that, but you're providing the UI and you're providing the experience so that a normal everyday user that's not a coder can do this.
And we are not providing it. QORT is providing it, right? We are the ones who are currently developing the project. We are not ownership of it. You guys are. Whoever wants to help, whoever owns a node, you guys are full owners of your own node, right? All of the software involved in the exchange is all in your own hands. It's all open source, and all of the stuff that's taking place is all within your control.
And that's the mentality we need to start really, because I still find myself getting locked into the old school way, like you own it, or that's really the mentality that we need to really start getting into, is that with the open source nature of things is that really everybody owns it. We all own it. We take responsibility.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, we are not. That's why I've been even in the documentation I've been writing, I'm saying we, the current development team of the QORT project.
Yeah.
We're not saying like, yo, we're the men, like we did this shit, right? We will get credit for that with the F that our account will have in the system denoting a founder. That's about it.
And we'll get into that in just a second, but this is something that I always stress with crypto projects, blockchain projects. If they're truly decentralized, they're truly open source, it's all about community and building the community, because the community is the one that decides the future, right? And it sounds like what's brilliant about this project is you've already built in the leveling system, the voting system, the consensus. So it's up to anybody who wants to join in. And it sounds like you really want to get in on the ground level too, so you can
Of
start
course,
minting
that's
early.
always better. But there's the beauty of the leveling system too is that it doesn't really matter in the end whether you got there first or not. Because
Yeah,
if you put in enough effort, anybody can get to the same level eventually as anybody else, right? It's just based on
brilliant.
how much effort you want to put into it, and that's how quickly you'll get to the end result. But everybody gets to the end result eventually, right?
Interesting. So this is really like an egalitarian concept for an economy too,
Yeah.
and that it's not handouts, it's not socialism, it's not,
No.
hey, just show up and here you go, which a lot
No.
of coins do.
Oh yeah, airdrops.
Um,
Hey, free coins,
yeah,
airdrops, totally, man. Like
exactly. You got to put the work in, because in order the putting the
you
work in
have
is
to
what supports
understand.
the network.
Yes, exactly. You got to
Yeah,
understand what you're doing first. Then you got to say, okay, I want to be this in the network. The network has to acknowledge you. You have to prove yourself for a while before you can even become that. Then you become it. Then you level up, right? So it's all over time. You have to prove yourself over time, and it's that's
it's
the
really
point,
a reflection of how the world should work.
right?
It's like, you take responsibility for your life, figure out what you want to do that you're passionate about, and then go to work. We did a whole podcast about the science of getting rich, which was all about, which
Right?
was literally, you can create there's no reason anybody in the world, I know this is what's crazy is this
It's
is,
idealistic.
well, it's idealistic, but it's such a radical thought this day and age, because
Mhm.
mankind has been so conditioned into thinking that they need someone to help them,
Go
that
get a
there's a
job, like
well, not even just get a job, but that there's systems in place that are here to help you,
right?
right?
Yeah.
Like, you have
Oh,
to go to
don't
college.
worry, we'll hold your hand the way through. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I always loved about the crypto scene is, like, dudes like you and other guys that I met and other girls that I met. It's a much more idealistic, yes, but also it's a pull your bootstraps up mentality. It's like, I'm going to control my own future. I'm going to learn how to
Manifest
code.
destiny.
Yeah, I'm going to learn how to code. I'm going to learn this stuff, and I'm going to take, my life in my own hands, which was
Right.
like
I
the
mean, in
original American.
2013, I knew nothing about any of this. Nothing. Like, I'm not a developer myself. I wasn't. I mean, I guess I can call myself a developer now, but I'm more still a facilitator. Like, I understand the code now at a way deeper level than I ever thought I could before. But for now, I come up with the concepts and I understand the code deep enough now to tell these guys whether the shit's gonna work or not, and then see if I can make my developers actually build it. But I
Yeah.
didn't understand any of this stuff. I have no idea what even cryptography. I had no idea what that was. Nothing. And so I just dug in, learned as much as I could, and tried to find the right people. Started putting together like-minded people, and it's where we got to today.
So how did you guys? So is everyone just kind of working for free, or
Well,
how does that work without a seat? Because you hear about a lot of, like, for obviously this is the famous one, is EOS. They somehow raised $4 billion to create what they've put out, which many people call vaporware. And I don't want to
mhm.
talk down on any projects, but this is an obvious one. This is one that's so blatant. As far as I don't like using the word scam, but I mean, $4 billion for a
They
blockchain project.
manipulated to get that money to begin with.
What's that?
Like, they manipulated the Ethereum chain to get that money to begin with, and then they controlled enough of it to where they can manipulate those prices. So it's like, how much did you actually raise?
It's frightening to think, and the SEC just penalized them, I think, 30 million, which is like a drop in the bucket considering that notion. And it's like, kind of, who's really, you look at the actors in there and some of the stuff that's, that
There's a couple.
there's a couple weird folks in there, and you wonder if they've got ties to the deep state, to who knows what. It could be a massive honey trap. It's frightening. So, but harking back to my question, it's like, how did you guys pull this off?
Uh, Hell fun, oh man! Like, literally, it was just finding the people who agreed with the core ideals that I had and going from there. and just running across other people along the way, getting involved in these other projects and figuring out what I liked there and there, and just getting really involved in it, man. That's all it really was. Getting really involved in it, and then figuring out like what's really going on here, and then coming to finally finding the people that agree, and they're hard to find, and then trying to find the people that can actually do this work. That took me a long
Wow.
time. Yeah.
But it's wild that you've got projects that are raising hundreds of millions of dollars and are
And
basically just Ethereum clones.
right.
And
They're nothing. They literally have nothing. They have a white paper. I could sit down and write a white paper and give me 2 hours. I'll write a white paper for you. Like, that's all they have, and they're raising millions of dollars. They have a paper.
yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to get down to is like, this is a revolutionary technology that's being put out. And it's really just a matter, it sounds like to me, it was the main cost was time and effort, of
Yeah.
course, which is the
And
most
obviously,
valuable.
I have, I've been mining for so long. I've accrued a whole crap load of mining gear from various investors that I've had and so forth. And I've spent at least a couple $100,000 of my own money trying to pay people to do these things, because obviously I wanted them to focus their time on this. They can't just go like, okay, I'll do it for free. So like, yeah, I paid a lot of people out of pocket to get this done, to get it started.
Wow, yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to get at. So it is interesting though. It's like
Basically me.
Bitcoin,
I'm the one who funded
sure.
most of it. Yeah.
Wow. So, in that sense, I guess a couple things. Well, one, it's kind of a cool idea that the Bitcoin mining that which you've been doing
Right.
for a long time has helped fund this. So it's kind of like the original the project that started it all. It could be, in a way, funding the next project to really take us to the next level.
Hopefully, right.
And the second, you talked about the founders accounts.
Right,
I
right, right,
assume
right.
you built
So
in a
this
little bit of
initially,
capital,
yeah,
gain.
okay. So the way that well, the way I looked at it, say, okay, obviously there have been people that have put a lot into this, myself and a handful of others. Uh, I think we're limiting the number to 25 total that will exist ever. Founders, right? These people are the people who have put serious effort into making sure that this could start, right?
Hmm.
Those people, including myself and the developers and anybody else who has contributed in a substantial way to the project, will get a founder account. And they are only going to be uh, valuable, I guess you could say, in the beginning, while the founders are going to be the people who are um, the verified trusted, basically started trusted members that are necessary to avoid things like gaming. Like if bad actors were to come into play right in the beginning and try to level up and try to f the system from the start. So the founders can be those ones who say, no, you can't f the system from the start. And then once it gets is to a point where the founders are no longer necessary to say that, the system then says it by itself, because there's enough people to allow that to happen. The founders are no longer necessary, and the founders no longer get any sort of extra rewards. So the founders in the beginning, yes, they will get a little bit of extra reward, but basically it's like, thanks for all the shit you've done.
Yeah.
And so they will get 25% of the block reward for it's a mathematical thing to figure out exactly how long, but it's in blocks, and
Hmm.
it'll be built into the consensus. So
Okay. Yeah, that seems reasonable given all the sacrifice put
I
forward
put
for
so much
this.
stress in. It was a nightmare to make all, and I don't even know how the hell I made some of it happen at the end. Like, I just magically got these two people to talk somehow, and I have no idea how that even happened. And they made this, and it was amazing, and it contributed to this, and it was just like years of this, man. I'm so excited I can finally talk about this, because before I've just kept my mouth shut, because
Yeah.
until it was all built, I couldn't tell you exactly how everything was going to work, and I still can't tell you that with a lot of aspects of it, because they're not built yet. The ones that are is the minting, and that's why we're talking about that. The leveling system involving that, and the things that can get the network started. So
So let's go into plan here, plan of action, plan of release, and everything. I know you have some hardware
oh
that,
yeah, we didn't even get into that part yet.
yeah, the hardware is really exciting. And one of the more exciting aspects of it. One thing I will say, going back to marketing, and this is something I'm a big proponent of when it comes to distributed systems, especially with my theories about the technocracy doing everything they can to infiltrate and stop any kind of revolutionary systems, is that the slow growth underground methods seems something that makes a lot of sense, so that by the time
It's so big, yes.
it's
Exactly.
so, yeah, by the time it really hits onto their radar,
It's too big to stop.
it's too big to stop. So obviously being on a little show like this is just enough to get the interest to the underground core. We're not a huge show where, we're not on Discovery Channel or something. So doing this kind of strategy, it's the same as what Alfa Vedic does. It's exactly how we're building out our co-op, and we're working with local farmers and
Love the idea of a
permaculture.
co-op, by the way. I love that idea.
Yeah, so
And
that
all of this plays perfectly into all that too, and living off grid and all that stuff. And yeah, so our device, you want to talk about that now?
yes, let's talk
Sorry.
about the device. I know
Sorry.
as a
I get
hardware
excited.
guy, a hardware networking guy, this is probably
Yeah, this is like so exciting for me.
your main.
Yeah, this was like me and a handful of other people who have like come up with this whole concept and put it together. So we are gonna launch basically a device about this size. If you can see this little like router thing I got here in my hand, a device about this size with our 3D printed case. That if you're an artist, please contribute and make it look prettier. But we have developed fully open source hardware. Yes, that's correct. Everything on the chips and everything's all open source. So
So the
we
idea
are
is you could build it yourself.
you can build it yourself, and please do if you want to. If you're the type like me, like, fuck, I don't need to buy that, I can build it myself. Do it, please, because all you're gonna end up doing is making the network stronger. And what we want to do is make it so that I can go, here, plug this in at your house. Okay, good, you're a full node. And at the same time, your whole network is now more secure, and you now have functionality on your network that you never had before. And at the same time, now you have access to the internet of the future, and you don't even have to know if you don't want.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very
So
cool. So you on the wiki, which we'll drop in the description of the
I'm still
video.
adding data to it.
And actually, I think I know we're still adding to it. I'm going to drop it in the chat right here, just on DLive, so people can see that as
Yeah.
well. But you mentioned that there's going to be a pre-sale of this.
Of the hardware, yeah.
Of
So
the
I don't
hardware.
usually back the idea of a pre-sale because these guys have like just made it into something that it's not. But so a pre-sale is usually like, oh, we're selling coins, right? No, we're not going to do any sort of pre-sale in that regard. We are going to do a pre-sale because basically I don't have enough money to buy enough hardware to build these things for people. So the pre-sale will fund the hardware to get it going, and then be able to distribute it out to people.
So it's the pre-sale for the hardware, not
Yeah.
like some kind of ICO or something.
For the hardware, yeah, totally.
Yeah. And yeah, I definitely want one of those. I don't know if you set a price yet, but I'm definitely going to be sending you money for one of those, because
I'm going to give you one of the initial prototypes, man. You can have like, oh, so like in a couple years from now, you'll be like, this is the first prototype. Yeah, I'm giving you one for sure.
Awesome, man. Yeah, because I'm literally dealing with internet issues as we speak. I don't know if I was hacked or what, but I've got a computer failure. I'm on a backup system today, so I'm getting a little.
That was random. What you told me, I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I've been more and more vocal on Twitter about this stuff, and ever since
It does happen, man. Like, it does happen.
Yeah, so I don't know. It could just be a weird hard drive issue or something, but my desktop system completely failed on me this morning. It's all out of whack. It's been corrupted somehow, so I'm going to try to use a disk utility after this and see if hopefully it'll fix it.
If you need help actually recovering data, I can like strip it down to the thing and have my guy do it if you need.
Awesome, man. Yeah, the data's still on there. I think it's weird. I'm like able to find files and they're all there. It just the motherboard or something, it's just not working. So
that does kind of lend itself to some weirdness sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, having this router, that would allow me to access. So how does that work in terms of actually getting online? Does that still go through your ISP or?
Yeah, it still will, right? Initially, right? So you'll plug it in just like you would any other router. So you'll replace your existing home router with this thing. And when you do that, you've simultaneously not only provided access to all of QORT and all the things that it can do, also there are services that the router itself can do. And there's a whole list of that. And there's pictures of the prototypes and videos and stuff that we have in the wiki as well. But yeah, it secures your entire network at the same time. It makes it, there's multiple new hacks that I'm not sure people are aware of that with any processor made before or after, 2009, there's vulnerabilities. And those vulnerabilities lead to somebody being able to take control of your system. This router will prevent that from being able to happen.
It's
So
got, just to give a little list of stuff on here, which is pretty amazing. It's got the Nextcloud, which is a local storage, secure file storage system. It's got a VPN server or client gateway. It's got
yeah, Tor.
Tor.
If you guys are familiar with
It's
Tor.
got Tor. It's got a torrent server. What my kids will love this. It's got a Minecraft server.
Minecraft, yeah, it goes all the way down to just being a game server too. So
Rumble,
like it
which
does
I love.
everything, man. It does everything. It's
Yeah,
like
that's
I
very
seriously
cool.
want one myself. I can't wait until I can get the parts and build one of the prototypes here at my house, and then I'll do a video and show you all about it because it's gonna be exciting for me.
Amazing. I'm definitely on that. And so what's cool too is then boom, you're once you run that for a bit, then you go up a level and you can be one of the early adopters of QORT, start minting.
That's the
So
idea. And
start
then
earning
there's gonna
blocking
be
rewards.
in the pre-sale, there's gonna be the option to be like a donator or whatever. And we're gonna have packages together where if you want to be somebody like, hey, I want the router, but I also want to help you guys out. You can contribute a little bit more, and that will entitle you to skip the waiting period to become a mentor. So you'll be able to just be a mentor when you start, which is kind of a bonus, right? So if you want to be somebody, hey, I want to help these guys out, help this project get developed, give us, quarter Bitcoin or something. We'll give you a router, obviously, and access to any other devices that we build in the future, which we've already got a bunch planned. And also you'll be a mentor by default without having the waiting period, which is a little over a month. You have to wait to become a mentor on the system. That's part of the security of it. You can skip that and you can just start making rewards immediately with it.
Hmm.
So.
And so as far as the coin dynamics go, are you guys, is there a pre-mine or how?
No, it's all from zero. But since we are assimilating Quora into this, because the people who followed Quora obviously the ones who have the most interest in following, and we're building the initial community and so forth. So I took those people that were following and decided, okay, what are we going to do with these coins that exist on Quora now? Because right now they're not on any exchanges. There's no way to really trade it. So it's dead, right? In crypto land, it's dead, but it's still a fully functioning badass blockchain, right? Because there's no centralized exchange to trade it, it's dead.
Yeah.
That's what we've gotten to now. But yeah, so now instead of being a dead project, it's going to be assimilated into QORT. So the people of Quora will be able to swap into in a slow swap, not like a direct swap, because there will not be any QORT initially when the platform
Won't be enough
launches.
liquidity. Yeah.
It'll start at zero.
Yeah.
So the chain starts at zero. There's
Good.
no coins. It starts,
That
just like
stays
Bitcoin.
within the full decentralized nature of it. So there's
Right.
no
And that took a
original.
lot of thinking too, to figure
Yeah,
out how we were gonna do that. Like, there's so many coins here. What are we gonna do with all those? And I'm like, okay, we got to just make it slowly transition into it.
sure.
And yeah,
And so the idea then, once the QORT chain is launched and moving, then and the trade portal. So is the trade portal is also going to be active on launch?
no, the trade
Okay,
portal will be the functionality is already there, so we're just making the UI finalized. So the backend stuff for the functionality is already there. So yeah, that will be there, but you have to be a developer to use it until we build it into the UI.
got it. And so originally then, if let's say that I get this router and I want to host a website,
You could if you were a developer, but we have to develop the features into the UI and figure out how we want to present that to the UI and so forth.
yeah.
So that's like a whole other thing.
Okay. So it sounds like to me, we're kind of with the ground level. It's getting the device, supporting the
Getting the
network,
network going.
getting the network going. And then as that goes, and as you guys, get more funding via donations, etc., you can pay for more UI. Anybody else in the
It's
community
not even
who,
really about paying for it. It's more about just like figuring out how we want this all to be launched and doing it in a way that it makes sense and it's not going to confuse everybody, because if we were to just say like here's all the features and like throw it at everybody, they'll be like what is going on? And so
yeah,
that's another thing, we have to have the presentation where you go to this UI and you can figure it out. And that's another
totally.
thing where it took a lot of effort to figure that out, how we're going to do that. So we
And
got
I
it
was
though.
going to say, though, because the nature of this project is if you're out there listening and you're a developer or you're a designer, UI, UX
Get in
designer,
touch.
get in touch. You can, there's a Discord server. We'll drop the links here, but you
Yep.
can go to,
That's the whole idea. We want
yeah,
everybody to contribute if they can. If they want to, then please. That's how it all
yeah,
started. That's how we all have been doing it. I've literally been just making this happen.
yeah. And that's the beauty of a true decentralized system is that it's up to every individual with what they want to put in is what they can get out
Yep.
of it. Like we said, just like in your life. So fantastic, man. Really exciting project. Can't wait to see it come out into the real world.
I don't have a
Um,
specific date for the launch yet, but we're saying within a month from now.
wow. Cool. So if you want to go to the site, you guys have a website up too.
No, right now the wiki's the main thing.
Okay.
Quartal.org has just like it's some outdated information that's there right now. So just the wiki is the main thing right now to focus on, because this is, like I said, this is a homegrown project, right? So you've got to like, come along with us, and as things get developed, we'll let you know, and that's about it.
Yeah, so it's wiki, wiki dot Quartal, which is QORTAL.org. You can go on there and get the current
Portal with a Q.
information. Portal with a Q. And there you can get the current specs and stuff. Do you guys have ideas as far as like blocks, how fast the block times are?
1 minute block times.
1 minute block times, and is there a cap on transactions in a block, stuff like that? I mean,
We're figuring out whether, because my original idea was to have no transactions or no transaction fees and no cap on the total amount of coins, which the developer and I have been going back and forth whether it's possible within how the structure of the system works. But I think we've come up to the conclusion that it either is or it isn't at this point. So, but yeah, we're almost there with that. But I want to do it with no transaction fees. We'll see if we can. I want to do it with no cap to the total supply of coins. We'll see if we can. If not, we'll let you know in the wiki as I update the information.
So to summarize, QORT is really focused on being the next generation of the internet, where we have decentralized hosting of apps, websites, media, and through a really democratic system on the blockchain where anybody can get involved with just a little bit of time and effort. It doesn't require a big ASIC mining platform like Bitcoin. It doesn't require a ton of money like other proof of stake projects. It's just literally effort. You can jump into their Discord, the Quora Discord, and they need help. So if you're really passionate about changing the world through decentralized technologies, please get a hold of Crowe. You can, we'll have all the links in the description below. You can go to like I said, the wiki, wiki.quartal.org, and really get involved there. And I know down the line, I'm sure knowing you, Crowe, you'll probably be building out like a forum besides just the Discord.
And that's all going to be built on Quartal itself. If I have anything to say about it in the very near future. So
yeah, it should be.
we don't want anything that's centralized at all. So for now, I do have the wiki is on a centralized server, but this stuff will all be transitioned to being hosted on Quartal itself, including
That's
the
amazing.
GitHub repo for the code.
Wow. See, so that really, really nails home the whole concept, right? Because right now, if you with open source projects, if the code is usually on GitHub, which is owned
That's
by
owned by
Microsoft.
Microsoft now. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great. That makes me feel good. Yeah.
which is insane. So for those that aren't coders, the repo is where you actually have the code base saved, and it's where certain
Everybody
people
goes
with certain authority can go in and update it as it gets tweaked and bugs are fixed and stuff.
And now
So,
Microsoft has that authority, no
so
matter what. 'Cause they own
Microsoft,
it.
who is Bill Gates, who we all love, Bill Gates Foundation, vaccinating the world,
Great.
has control over some of the biggest cryptocurrency projects in the world.
All of them.
So yeah, I mean, I know there's a couple
GitHub
other
has all of
repos, alternative repos people use, but
GitHub's the one.
GitHub is the one, and that is frightening. So the ability to have a decentralized hosting, we see it right now with the censorship with all of these like Twitter and Facebook. They're all on centralized servers. YouTube's the big one, right? That's why we're on DLive, because YouTube, they decide you get a strike and boom, you could have 10 years.
DLive's cool too, because it does put the information on the chain, but there still is a centralized aspect.
Oh, we know all about that. And their coin
Just
dynamics
FYI.
and stuff are super centralized. We're using it right now. You know, this is the thing. This is the beautiful thing about QORT, is that because it's open source, and if you have somebody who loves DLive and knows, we do know DLive is centralized in that it's on they even their terms and conditions and all that you sign and everything.
Yeah.
So
for now,
imagine this. Imagine if you had some enterprising developers who are early QORT adopters. They could literally develop a DLive streaming platform on QORT that is completely decentralized.
You're going to localhost on your own computer.
Exactly. And
that's the key between most things. If you want to go to decentralized versus centralized, can you access it via going 127.0.0.1/something?
Yeah.
If you can, it's decentralized. If you can't, it's not.
Wow, man! It's just the opportunity that, I mean, it's fractal in nature, really, of where this can go. Yeah. That is so exciting. Imagine having there is no true decentralized streaming service or video repository. No. DTube,
there's no decentralized, like, anything that, no.
Nothing. Everything is using some sort of either centralized server or
even
company.
Down to the domain level. Yeah.
Yeah. So on the domain level, that's a great segue there. So on the DNS and stuff.
For now, there is no DNS, but there's a naming registration system inside of QORT, where if you want to have a domain on QORT, where you can go 127.0.0.1/ that's you register it in the system. It's on the blockchain.
And will you have like a naming protocol too, where you can call it then something?
Yes, it's there already. That was in Quora. That was something we kept from Quora.
So that's something a lot of people don't understand too with the way the internet works right now, is in order to have for us to have alfavedic.org, we have to go to a registrar, which is a third-party company that essentially is acting as the middleman for the domain.
Totally. They own them all.
They own them.
And they can sell them, which is bullshit, because who are you to say that you can sell these?
Yeah, and so you have the international, what are they called, that kind of do a lot of the ruling. ICANN, yes. And so it's all centralized. The internet right now, while it's provided so much freedom, is so centralized, and it's getting more and more centralized. And we're seeing it with the Google black hole of information.
And the quantum computer now.
Quantum computing. So this is something we've been talking on Telegram and Discord, and something that, there's talking about all the qubits and stuff that Google is perfecting with their D-Wave and technology and stuff. Where do you see that going in regards to cracking hashes and stuff?
They'll be able to break the hashing algorithm of Bitcoin. Whether they're going to actually cause any issues with that is what I'm wondering.
So one thing I will say this, and I've been doing some research, is that it's not as black and white because it is quantum computing. It actually it gets really complex. I don't want to get too technical.
We're not going in there yet.
Yeah, but It's not there. It's not even close to there yet. We've got some hype articles out saying in like 10 years,
They
5
they
years.
will have it. I think it's 2 years. I
Yeah.
feel like they're 2 years away.
Well, we know if they're saying publicly that they're at a certain place, probably they're 50 years in advance. But with the dark projects and stuff. But so what steps is QORT taking to kind of counteract?
I'm gonna have to get the answer from the developer on that one.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
That's a level I haven't even delved into yet.
So
but I know it's there.
one thing that is powerful about having a leveling, decentralized autonomous organization concept is that you have trusted actors that can vote to upgrade the system.
Yes.
And so it's pliable. It's not where Bitcoin is kind of the original Bitcoin. It's set in stone.
Right. And,
so
the miners control the consensus there, but then that goes back to the centralization of the miners. So it's all goes back to the same things we've been talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. So the future, just like anything where you have innovation, things need to innovate. And if Bitcoin can't, other projects will come in. We've seen with this first kind of spurt of crypto, a lot of projects trying, but we unfortunately they've been centralized. So it's going to be a really fun ride to see what QORT can do. The notion of having a completely decentralized web hosting and naming and domain system,
and that's just like a tiny aspect of it too,
which is crazy. So yeah. Reaching for the stars here, but why not?
And we've done it. We have already done it.
Yeah,
I can confidently say that all the stuff we've talked about is already basically built, if not fully built already.
Wow. So how big is the team right now that's working on this?
Well, if you consider all of the people that have contributed ideas and helped me form concepts and so forth, I'd say it's at least 20.
See?
But it grows, like
it just shows though it doesn't take some of the greatest innovations in the world were done by a very few people.
Yep.
And it's really inspiring to know that we still have that in this world, where we have the Teslas, the new Teslas, and the new Royal Rifes, and these people we talked about, the new Walter Russells out here working on stuff. And Crowe, I'd love to integrate you guys more with some of the really
I'm excited about just by some of the small
thinkers.
things you've mentioned. I'm really excited to get involved more with what you guys are doing.
Yeah, because we're talking alternative energies that are mind blowing. We're talking about whole different science that is a real science and how the universe works. Awesome. And putting this on the blockchain to secure it is going to be important. So using something like
QORT, the right blockchain. Yeah,
exactly. And that's something that a lot of people don't get is you hear a lot of show hosts and stuff say, put it on the blockchain. Well, there's no the blockchain.
Yeah, which one?
You got to put it on one that has the proper distribution and consensus. So
we hope we've built that. And if anybody thinks they've got some things to challenge us, please challenge us. We're always open to that.
That's the brilliance of open source and community. So it's open source everything. That's the future.
We got nothing to hide, then why try to hide things, right?
Exactly. And we know it's because you have, and this actually goes in the face of capitalism and stuff. You don't need, and it goes back to our Science of Getting Rich podcast, the whole idea of competition. It's not competition. It's creating. It's creating together.
Right.
And we create together. We will all flourish together. Crypto is giving us a mechanism to do that, where we can all show our value and then have a representation of value in the currency. So in this framework, for instance, let's say as a content developer, content provider for me, we start hosting our show on QORT, and we have our own our videos on there. We are streaming stuff, and we are at the same time also, because we're supporting it, we're minting, so we're
reaping rewards from your own.
We're reaping rewards. And in the same way, like DLive works, where you get their little coins, they call them Lino points. same way, right? So I assume one other thing we didn't even talk about on this platform is you can create your own assets.
Yes,
absolutely.
So that's just another little side thing that the ERC20 tokens and whatever. Yeah, we can do that too.
Yeah, so we can create
and
Alpha
with native
coin.
cross-chain transfers with Bitcoin built in.
Wild. So we could create the Alpha coin or AV. And
you'd have
coin.
native trading with Bitcoin by default.
Wow. So fantastic. Now the project that we're working on the side called Manifest X, we are trying to build a stable actual currency. So something you would use to actually in a much more stable way than Bitcoin, and actually be able to use as a day-to-day currency to purchase stuff, and you actually create that through your experiences in the world.
And the more I've been thinking about it is that QORT could provide the infrastructure. You guys may not even have to have your own chain. You could run as a side chain to QORT with your own consensus rules.
Sure. Yeah, so because
just something to think about, right?
Yeah, the difference with, well, the one thing is we would probably need our own decentralized exchange, because the decentralized exchange is kind of the main mechanism
that's built in.
Yeah. So yeah, there's lots of, without getting too off topic here, we're building a really exciting project called Manifest X, and the idea is that we're using the power of nothing. So to make nothing more powerful, Tech says it better than I, but it's a really out there concept.
I love out there concepts.
But it's a whole new way an economy can work, and it's so egalitarian, and it's really a whole new way of thinking of how currency works. And it's really.
I do got to get going here. In a short time. So
yeah, we've gone an hour and almost 45 minutes, so we can wrap it up. So if you if you would like to know anything else about this current project, you can go to the wiki.qortal, which is portal with the Q.com. Do you have links?
Org.
It's
.org. We don't even like the .com thing because it's commercial, right? We're not commercial. This is an organization.
Do you have the Discord link and stuff on there for Quora?
Yeah. Okay. It should be there. I believe on the main page. It's there at the bottom of the main page of the.
Cool. So you guys can jump into there. And then get involved. I know I've been following this for years, and I can't wait to get the router and start hosting on Qortal. I want to be one of the early adopters of that.
Oh, you will be for sure.
Well, fantastic, Crowe. Any parting words for the audience?
No, man. Just we'll be saying a bunch more, I'm sure, but I hope everybody comes and at least gives the project a shot and check it out.
Fantastic. Yeah, we're going to spread this far and wide, this video. It'll be reposting on YouTube this afternoon at 5 p.m. And it'll be on iTunes as a podcast, Podbean, and wherever you can find a podcast. If you like this content, please follow us, Alfa Vedic. You can follow us. We're on Telegram. We really enjoy Telegram. So you can find us on t.me/Alfa Vedic. We also have our own Discord server. You can go to alfavedic.com, which we've converted to alfavedic.org. I just haven't done the forwarding and stuff. But because we converted to a co-op and a more nonprofit structure, it will be alfavedic.org in the near future. But currently, you can go to alfavedic.com and find all of our links there: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Please subscribe to us on YouTube or DLive so you can get notifications of future videos like this. And Crowe, thanks so much, man, for joining us today.
Had a lot of fun, man.
It's been a pleasure. We're honored to be the first, channel to announce this to the world.
You guys, this is way before anybody else even knows that this is going on. I haven't even announced it on Bitcoin Talk or anything. So you guys are like literally inside scoop.
Wow, that's amazing, man. Really appreciate it. As you know, we're kind of underground too, and we're hardcore in what we talk about in terms of reality. And this is the big thing I always say is opt out, man. It's like create your own communities. And one of the most important things for creating our own communities, besides growing our own food and staying healthy, is having our own means to communicate and our own currencies. And this is a huge step in the right direction. So thanks for joining me today, man. And have a great day.
Thanks, man.